someone's like, you're an alcoholic, and they're like, I'm not an alcoholic. I only drink when I'm alone or with someone. Hi guys, welcome back to Duel Perspectives. I'm Diamond Simons.
And I'm Samini Iman.
If you are new to our channel,
welcome. And if you are returning to our already growing family, welcome. And if you haven't already subscribed, make sure that you do that and hit the notification bell so that you can see when we post a new video each and every time. So this month, for the month of May, happy May by the way.
May.
Our book this month is The 13 Slaves of the New Era by the Tarot Priest, also known as Bree Weber.
And if you don't know her, she's actually a famous YouTube personality that does tarot card readings, and I love her channel. So we'll put the link down below so you could go check it out if you're into that kind of thing. Yes.
So 13 Slaves of the New Era is all about mental slavery. So I don't know if you guys remember back when Kanye was at TMZ and he told everybody slavery is a choice, and it kind of just blew up all over the place.
And I had never heard that before. I might have heard of it, but I never really read up on it or watched a video or anything.
I think I just happened to stumble across it because I don't really follow any of the celebrities, but I think it popped up somewhere and I was like, what is this?
Yeah, and you mentioned slavery was voluntary to Samia. She's like, what? What?
I'm like, wait a minute.
What do you say over there?
But I think but the truth of the matter is that context is important, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, if you're talking about physical slavery being a choice, then absolutely everyone should be up in arms about that because it was not a choice. Like, we weren't a co-creator in that and saying, yes, chain me up, take me to a new land that I don't know and make me work for you for free under brutal conditions. Like, no one signed up for that.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the way a lot of people might have taken it, but it's like, okay, read between the lines. Like, what is the context of what he's trying to say?
Right.
You know.
So I feel like what he was actually trying to say was that mental slavery is a choice, which it absolutely is. And if you think about the way that our society is set up, we can easily be enslaved and conditioned to be enslaved into different mentalities that aren't really serving us and our highest purpose. Which is what is talked about in the 13 Slaves of the New Era. It's all about mental slavery and identifying the traits that are a part of these different areas of slavery, and then also getting yourself out of it. Because once you can identify the symptoms, you can look for the cure. Right.
So. And that's the first step. Like, I think that's really good for someone that never really looked into themselves or their personality or mentality. It's like, okay, where do I identify within these 13 slaves? And just for a couple of examples of the 13 slaves, it was
there's the perfection slave,
perfectionist, hardworking slave,
the money hungry slave,
people pleaser, that type of thing.
Yeah, things of that nature. There's 13 of them, so you'd have to read the book.
Read the book, yeah.
But one of the things that she said in this book that I really liked was this idea when it comes to mental slavery is that when you were enslaved to these different ideas, concepts, mentalities, what you don't realize is that you don't have to be. And it's like being in a cage with the door unlocked or the door open, and all you have to do is step through. And she used an analogy of like a bird, a caged bird that's sitting in the cage, and the door is open and it doesn't leave because it still thinks that it's caged inside.
It doesn't realize the door's open.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with mental slavery. Like anything that you have been conditioned and trained to think or to be enslaved to based off of, sometimes your parents, sometimes your friends, social media,
society.
Yeah, all of that. You can always change the way that you think, and you can change the way you perceive. And this has been rolling around in my mind for months, and I feel like it has to be said. changing your perspective is just choosing to change your mind. Mm-hmm. And so, and these 13 slaves mentalities, you can literally change that, you know, and it's just a choice. It's saying, okay, I identify here and I'm going to change my mind.
Mm-hmm. It's like now that you're aware of what you were doing or how you were behaving, which I think in the back of your mind you're already aware.
Yeah.
But when it's brought to the forefront, it's like, oh, yeah, I can identify with that. I definitely do that, so I must have that mentality, you know.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, like I want to point out that ultimately in some aspects we are all encompassing multiple parts of these slave mentalities. Yeah. But I think the difference is how much it plays in your life, right? So like if we use the example of the money hungry slave, where it's just like, I gotta get money, that's all that's on my mind. Like I gotta work 3 or 4 jobs because all I need is money. Mm-hmm. And you're chasing money and that's all you're thinking about, then you are a slave to money making. Mm-hmm. Right? Whereas like if you're saying like, well, this is the lifestyle that I want to live and this is what I need to do to get there, and you're using money more as a tool, as instead of something that you need to achieve, mm-hmm. then you're not so much a money hungry slave. You understand that like ultimately for ultimate freedom and enjoying your best life, you need money as a tool but not as a way of life. Mm-hmm. So the thing is like, I feel like in order to truly be enslaved by these mentalities, like it has to be an extreme situation. It has to be like all you think about, as opposed to like understanding like, okay, I understand this part, like I may identify with this and this, but I also understand that this is a catalyst for something else, right?
And a lot of these in here were like extreme cases, like extreme people pleasing or extreme money hungriness. Like it's like you're way far gone if you get to that point, and it's like, okay, reel it in, you know. But there was a gem in this book, the page where she lists out all the rules.
Oh yeah,
I love that page. Just a couple of examples, not to give too much away, but she just has a whole 2 pages with rules that society put in place that people follow and they think that's just the way to be. Like men are supposed to be the providers, you know, women are supposed to cook, or women have to dress a certain way, or you have to be married before you have kids, or you have to be married before you live together, etc. Like I thought that page was so golden because there was a lot of stuff on there. I was like, that's literally how I think or how I thought. Like, I have to do this in order to do this, or I have to be this person to do this, or I have to wear this in this season. But it's like, no, you don't. You really don't.
And the funny thing is that when I was going through that list, I was like, yep, don't think that way. Yep, don't think about that. Yep, break that rule, break that rule. And do you mind if I tell them a story about when we first met? When it comes to like rules and things of that nature. She just wants
to embarrass me, y'all.
I don't want to embarrass you. That's why I'm asking.
Wait, this is an authentic show. We are transparent people. And
absolutely.
I'm not ashamed of the way I used to think because I've grown and evolved. Go ahead and tell them, girl.
All right. So when Diamond and I first met, we used to go walking. It was her and another gal that we know. And we got to talking about rules and everything like that. And Diamond was like, I follow all the rules. And I was like, I'm a rule breaker. I was like, I am a rebel, I'm a rule breaker. And she was like, I like following the rules. And I was like, well, you hang with us enough and you're going to be a rule breaker. She's like, no, I'm not. And then, and then here she is. She's such a rule breaker.
I'm not a rule breaker.
She's a rule breaker. She don't break all the rules, but she breaks some rules. I mean, she's coming out of that shell. So that's so
no,
it's great.
I was that person. Like in high school, I had to have all A's. I had to be in class on time, right there before the bell rings, in my seat. I had to sit in the front row. I always sat in the front row. Super like, gotta follow the rules. Gotta do it. Gotta be married before we live together. Gotta do this and that and the other.
And I've always been like, yeah, who says that that's the rule? You know, I never went too far as like, you know, like really getting in trouble and everything like that. But if I could push against it, I'm like, I'm gonna nudge it a little bit. Oh, I can nudge it. Okay, let me just put my shoulder into it now. I'm like, break some rules, because truthfully, I feel like if you follow the rules too much, like, are you really enjoying life?
Right.
You know? And so
that's okay. I've gotten my wings since then.
Yeah.
I'm a free being.
Yeah. But I mean, it's great. But I feel like this book really does kind of set out the path of really getting to know yourself truthfully, and knowing your starting point and where you need to work on, if you even want to work on these things. Because honestly, life is a choice. Changing your mind is a choice. And if you don't want to change these aspects about yourself, then don't. I mean, it's up to you.
Tell them about reading the book if they don't want to change, or if they're not actually looking.
Yeah.
You made a good point about how it would make you feel if you're not actually looking to change.
Yeah, so if you are drawn to this book and you read it and you're actually not ready or willing to change, this book is going to trigger you. Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to make you feel some kind of way. You might even get angry about it because you might be like, that's not me. I am not that person. And 9 times out of 10, if you're getting triggered by something, it's because it is actually you.
And what do they say? Like the alcoholics?
Yeah.
Where someone's like, you're an alcoholic. And they're like, I'm not an alcoholic. I only drink when I'm alone or with someone.
Yeah. Like,
you're only mad because I'm telling you the truth. You're an alcoholic. Like, that's kind of like all the time when you're alone or with someone.
Right,
you know
right,
what I mean?
exactly. And so, exactly. And so if you're not ready to like actually accept that, you have these traits, you're going to be triggered, you're going to be upset. And I feel like if it does elicit that type of emotion, then maybe you need to read more.
Right.
Maybe you need to do more and work on yourself too, because to the point where it doesn't trigger you, you're just like, I'm happy to be an alcoholic. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Pass the wine. If that's...
Say, where's my drink?
I'm like, if that's who you want to be, then by all means, you're not going to be triggered by somebody calling you an alcoholic.
You'll be like, I know.
Because I like when people said it to me in college, I never disagreed. I'd be like, I would say, I was like, no, I'm not alcoholic. I just drink by myself and socially, But I wouldn't get upset about it. I'd be like, you gonna pass me the beer? Let me not say beer because I didn't drink beer. But pass me the drink. Let's go. But yeah, but here's the thing. Like, if you are wanting to actually change yourself, let me tell you something. Changing your perspective about anything, any parts of yourself, is honestly just choosing to change your mind. That's all it is. Like, everything that you do in life is a choice. And you can choose to stay the exact same way, even if it's not serving you, or you can choose to change your perspective about something and ultimately change your entire life. Because think about this, going back to the rules, if Diamond had decided, like, I'm going to stay a rule follower forever, you know what I mean? Like, let's face it, we wouldn't be here, because a part of following the rules is that you go and work for somebody until you retire, and that's it, And so even being an entrepreneur and stepping outside these guidelines that society sets is breaking the rules.
Right.
And so, like, and I feel like Diamond's a lot happier than she was when she was following the rules.
I'm free.
But like, it's literally it's a choice. And if you're wondering how to do that, we can send you over to our Changing Your Perspectives video on the Work Within.
Yeah, we'll stick it like right here.
Yeah, we'll stick it up there
just
somewhere.
click that. Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm like, but my feelings again with self-help and motivational books has not changed. Like, I feel like they don't go far enough, right? And so, like, in this book, I feel is no different. There's definitely a lot of great gems in there. There's definitely a lot of aspects that you can take with you, identify. There are things that I identify with. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like it actually helps take you from the step of, okay, this is where I identify, and then,
but what do I do next?
What do I do next to get to freedom, essentially? And we all know that we're free, right? But when it comes to your mind, it's harder to change your mind than just to say, I'm free now. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to go through the steps of actually working on your mind and changing it, because you have to think about this. You've been thinking this way for probably majority of your life.
So you basically have to unprogram yourself. Nothing
Right.
is like automatic. Like, okay, you're free now. You know exactly how you are. So now you're free.
Right.
Go be free. It's like, no, because you're going to go back into
Yeah.
some of those old habits
Yeah.
or ways of thinking or doing
Right.
things. And you need to, like when you go back to that, you need to acknowledge it and then use steps to go back
Right.
to the way you want to be versus going back to the way you
Right.
were. You know?
And it's easy to regress because it's comfortable.
Right.
Like there's comfort in doing what you've always been doing and knowing what you've always known.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so stepping outside of that is uncomfortable because you're stepping out of your comfort zone, right? And so like, and I feel like this book would have been phenomenal. It's a great book, I feel like, but it would have been phenomenal if it had more steps on helping you to break out of the mindset and the steps that you need to go through in order to do that, as opposed to just saying, you know, you're free, so just be free, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I feel like it's a good read.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good first step into knowing who you are and
Yeah.
some of the traits that you've had.
Yeah.
So.
And if you want to change them, then you know, it's a great starting point. So if you haven't read the book, we will have a link for it down below. It is on Amazon. When we got it, she is sold out, so they're going really quickly. So
Yeah.
make sure you grab them up really quickly. And if they are sold out, just keep checking back, and I know she's going to have more. So we'll have that out in the description below. Just off of what we've talked about, of the few mental slavery mentalities that we talked about, do you resonate with any of those? I know I did, and I know Diamond did.
Yeah,
and
sure.
so there's no shame in resonating with some of the mentalities, because we all do. But the difference is, do you stay in it or do you work to
grow
get out
from
of
it?
Yeah, exactly. But let us know what you think, and leave us a comment down below, like, and subscribe. And we'll see you next month with our next book. Bye, guys.